This is Spalding back here, Norman Woodstock Spalding, Barebones Broadcaster, Skeleton Nation. I want to remind you all that I attempt to speak to what you would call the higher ground or more aware, and I call it backed up and more peripheral, the echo of information of that. Watching the patterns, getting back and seeing it from its most abstract to the planet basically crystallizing and all the way to the pangs of the why the child cries. All of it. All of it. Zone in. Reason. All the reasons. Anyway. That's something I like to do. I wanted to thank YouTube for allowing me to experience this option in human living today to share and use this. If they're not responsible, and I can tell you this much, I'm becoming quite affectionate to the staff that I hope's behind the scenes, aware of it, and finding it delightful. I think if you work for YouTube, there's some stuff you watch, some stuff you wouldn't. Like handle parts in a parts store. Some are more, I don't know, you respect them more or something, I don't know. I've sold a lot of parts in a parts store. The content on YouTube is like parts in an auto parts store. And they sell it. I try to speak to something worth selling. The class, this creature, the reason for communicating, the content of that. I do. It matters a lot to me. I was raised doing it. I was raised around it. I was a choir boy and an altar boy in an Episcopal church. What else would I do? So, I don't live up to it. I use a lot of satire, and some of it is because the Lord told me to do this. The devil didn't make me do it. The Lord wrote the script, and I'm bringing it, and it has satire in it. Believe me, it does. And I delivered it to my Maker with spit in its face. Is that enough satire for you? And the Lord said, that felt pretty good, boy. I did not expect that. It's like a man put a gun to my head one time, and I go, that looks pretty good. And he literally turned white as a ghost. I'll never forget the look on that man's face and the shade his face turned in front of me. This was a violent man. Very violent. There he was. And he used violence, and he threatened people with violence. And when he saw that look on my face and how I responded, he turned white. It's astounding. It's like I've had the rainbow come across my feet. Then I turned white. I'm not a pot of gold. You know I'm not. Look at this. I got a pot of gold. That's my intent. Thank you so much, YouTube. We have a lot to back up and talk about here. I never hold them responsible for any failure I don't live up to. I mean, any failure I don't live up to is about right. I think all we get to do is fail, and we can live up to it or we don't. So, I suppose sooner or later I'll use a word I ain't supposed to or something. I don't understand all these user codes as much as I ought. I know this much. I understand what is decent and what has to happen, and that is a meaningful, coherent conversation that develops the class that's worthy to bring to any dinner table. Now, there's times I can develop a conversation that isn't worthy of that class because of the subject matter in itself. It lives here, and it's not dinner table quality. Some subject matter you don't discuss in front of the women. How in God's name on this planet right now the women are discussing all this subject matter publicly? I find worse than the movie The Quiet Man bringing the conversation of our women to bars. It's not the women you discuss, it's the subject matter in front of them. Even though I do think everyone has to overhear the subject matter that lives here in its entirety to know how to live here with your own wit. Childhood to grave. You're able to present all the subject matter here. Maybe not the filthiest stuff, and it's garbage, some of it, in terms of behavior. The subject matter itself you're able to bring to the wit of everyone. And I try to do that in the most mannerly, lovely way possible. That's my job. Not only the bare bones broadcaster. That's journalism's job. Read the writing on the wall and let them have it. They don't teach you that in college. You can get journalism. That's the heart of journalism. Read the writing on the wall and let them have it. You owe them that. You're going to run this, writing on the wall, let them have it. And I consider myself, in some cases, my own experiences, is somewhat a writing on the wall. Yes, it is. And I'll share it with you. Big deal. I'm not a relevancy. I can tell you this much. When it comes to hurt or actually doing better, as far as I'm concerned, either one, I'm not a relevancy. I want them to study because I think they do better. But really, if you studied me about 3 days, you'd say, he's boring. Yeah, he's boring. Ah! Well, don't you think I'm boring? Thank you very much. Norwood Sucks Spalding, Bare Bones Broadcasting. The worst thing, Rick said the worst thing is to get on air and be boring. I'll be boring. Well, jazz it up as much as you can. And still stay on the ball.